All right. Hello and welcome back to the International Soccer Preview by Soccer Files Canada. This is part two of our look at Panama, where we look at the players. We've organized this according to the positions, the main positions of the players. I kind of use a few websites to kind of determine their standard position, but that's a bit fuzzy and it's not always accurate, especially as since players do move around. But we've kind of done that to help us organize the discussion. And you'll notice again that my co presenter, Connor, is not able to make it for this one. He is no longer in control of his own destiny now that he has a young baby. So he's been great in joining us when he can, and we'll have him back shortly. I think. Meanwhile, I am embarking alone on this look at Panama players, and I'm going to try a little bit of a different system here, where I basically describe the situation in that position or in that part of the field, and then I'm going to introduce the players, the main players for that position, contending for that position, and then I'm going to repeat the situation so that you can listen to it, knowing a bit of information about the players at hand, and we'll see how that works. Um, for this podcast on Panama. So we're going to start today with the manager. And right now, the manager of the team is Thomas Christiansen. He is Danish, and he's been with the team since 2020. Um, he played professionally from 1961 to 2006. And interestingly, he played for the Spanish national team. In 1996, but did not play in any tournaments. So he is their manager for now. In the 2019 Gold Cup, it was Panamanian veteran Julio Deli Valdez. He managed them in 2009, and in the 19, I should say, and in the 2018 World Cup, it was Hernan Dario Gomez. So they've been kind of changing managers for every tournament, and now they are with Thomas Christiansen. We'll see if he makes it to the next tournament. Let's begin with goalkeepers. So we said in the team podcast that they have had a bunch of players that retired after the 2018 World Cup. Actually, not as many as expected, but one of them is, I'm not sure how to say the name, Jaime. Anyway, Pinedo. I think he was actually called Jamie Pinedo when I listened to American announcers during games that I watched of them. I'll just go with Pinedo so as not to embarrass myself or hurt my tongue. Anyway, he was their standard goalkeeper until 2018. We won't introduce him except to say that he was there for a long, long time. From 2005, he was the starting keeper. Meanwhile, on the bench were Jose Calderon, also from 2005, and Luis Mejia, who joined his first tournament was in 2011. They've been sitting on the bench behind Pineda, now probably hoping for their chance. However, Jose Calderon is 35 years old. He has 44 caps and plays in Guatemala. As I say, he's been on the bench all this time. He did actually start and finish all games in 2017 in that Gold Cup, and played a B team game in 2019. He was on the B team in 2021 too, so I probably should have introduced Mejia first because he seems to be first in line. Let's move on to Luis Mejia. He's 30 years old, so both of them getting up there in years. He has 30 caps, but as I say, he was a starting keeper in 2021. His first tournament was in 2011, and he started B team games in 2011, 2013, and actually gained the starting position in 2015 when James Pinedo was suspended for Game 6. So he just got that game in there. Yeah, so he was the starting keeper in 2021. So going forward, it looks like it'll be between those two, and Mejia seems to have the edge. They also brought in another keeper, Orlando Mosquera, for the 2021 World Cup. And he was on the bench also in 2017 and the 2019 Gold Cups, but he wasn't selected in 2018, and he didn't play any games yet, but he does seem to be kind of next in line behind those two. Moving on to defenders, we're also going to start with a once again I'll say the longtime starter Pinedo is retired, and bench players Luis Mejia and Jose Calderon seem to be vying for the top spot. I said I would follow that format of repeating the kind of introduction to the section. So among defenders, we have a few names for central defense, and I'll say Roman Torres was the steady pillar back there, but he retired, leaving a gap. He and Fidel Escobar were the centre backs in 2018. Torres, was there in 2019. He didn't retire after the World Cup, but he hasn't appeared since 2019. But Escobar moved into a defensive midfielder role in 2019, and Cummings came in. Machado was tried out in a B team game in 2019. Torres and Escobar were gone in 2021, so it was Cummings and Peralta in Game 1. Peralta was then dropped, not coming back even when Cummings got injured in Game 2. And left back Roderick Miller was brought in for Game 2. And in game number 3, it was Roderick Miller and Alfredo Machado. So we'll go through the players. I won't talk too much about Roman Torres because he's really not a factor in the upcoming games. But his first tournament was in 2005, where he came in just in Game 4 as a sub, and after that, from 2007 onwards, he was the starter and finisher and actually the captain of the team. So he missed the Gold Cup in 2017, but was the starter in 2019, but didn't play after that. He actually played 2 of their 4 games after the 2019 Gold Cup, but he seems to have retired shortly after that Gold Cup. So the main man now seems to be Harold Cummings. He is 29 years old and has 75 caps. He plays for Always Ready in Bolivia, one of those fantastically named Bolivian teams. And his first Gold Cup was in 2011. And he became a starter in 2015. So he was kind of in and out of the team. Even in the World Cup in 2018, he was just appeared in Game 3. So he hasn't really made the starting position his own, but he may have now. He started all games in 2019, and then he started 2 games in 2021, but he got injured and was subbed out at 35. It seems it kind of left them at a bit of a loss at the back, not having enough central defenders to really cover it. Richard Peralta is 27 years old. He's been with the team since 2014, and he has 13 caps. He's been a consideration since 2015, where he made the preliminary squad, but not the final cut. And the same was true in Gold Cup 2017 and World Cup 2018. In 2019 Gold Cup, he wasn't even named to the preliminary squad. So he kind of returned from the cold here for 2021. He was a central defender in game one, but then he moved over to left back in game three. So I don't think we can call him kind of one of the steady players at the back, but more someone who fills in. Same can be said of Roderick Miller. He's 29 years old and he's been with the team since 2011 with 29 caps. He was at the Gold Cup in 2013, but only appeared in game four and then wasn't on the team, even selected for the preliminary squad in 2015. He was a starter in the 2016 Copa Centenario, though. And in 2017, he appeared in only one game and wasn't on the World Cup squad. I thought he was off the team by 2019 because I don't actually have any notes on him, but here he is back in 2021. He actually didn't make the final squad, but he was brought in late to replace Andres Andrade, who's a left back. And you can see actually his primary designation is as a left back, but he played central defense in games 2 and 3. So again, probably not someone, that they're seeing as a permanent pillar in that position. But they seem to be kind of filling gaps here and looking for the right person. Adolfo Machado is another player. He's a veteran, 36 years old with 91 caps, and he's been on the team since 2008. And he was kind of a starter in previous tournaments around 2011 and 15, but then kind of really wasn't on the team much from 2017. He didn't participate in the 2017 Gold Cup, and he only played one game, the B team game in the World Cup 2018 and Gold Cup 2019. But he came in as a central defender for game 3, so we can say he kind of stood in for Harold Cummings, who was injured, and his primary designation is a right defender, but he was a central defender in his only start in this tournament and in 2019. So yes, he did actually sub in for Harold Cummings too. So again, he seems a bit of a filler. We'll take a quick look at Fidel Escobar because he was the starting central defender in 2018. And then he moved up to a defensive midfielder role for all 4 games in 2019. So it looked like he was going to become kind of the partner to Roman Torres. But now he doesn't seem to be in a central defender role. He was chosen for the preliminary squad here, but did not make the final cut. And he only played 4 of their 18 games since the 2019 Gold Cup. So he is not really on the team right now, even though he's only 26 years old and has been with the team since 2015 with 43 caps. He didn't step in as well. I guess he wasn't on the squad to step into central defense in 2021, but perhaps a name to be considered. So we have a bunch of names there, but only Harold Cummings seems to, be stable in that position. So once again, I'll repeat what I started with. Roman Torres is retired, which leaves a gap. He and Fidel Escobar were the pillars in 2018. Torres did attend the World Gold Cup in 2019, but Escobar moved into a defensive midfielder role. So it seems like neither of those are in that role anymore. Harold Cummings came in and seems a steady defender. Machado was tried out in a B team game in 2019. Cummings and Peralta played game 1. Peralta was dropped from that position and Cummings got injured in game 2. So left back Roderick Miller was brought into game 2, and it was Miller and designated right back Machado for game 3. So my feeling after all that is that they are kind of looking for a second central defender alongside Harold Cummings. And most of the guys they have here are 26 years or older. So not a lot of youth available for the position there. Moving on to left back, we have just really one name. Hang on. Okay, sorry, I got to borrow from down here for those looking at the graphics. We have Eric Davies and Andres Andrade. Sorry for the delay. Okay, so Eric Davis has been in the position since 2018, so fairly stable in the position. Newcomer Andres Andrade is a candidate to step into the position in the future. And Peralta is also a candidate here, and we discussed him above. So let's take a look at Eric Davis. He's 30 years old. He has 56 caps and maybe 58 caps now, and he's been on the team since 2010. Not a starter in 2011 or 15 or 17. His first starting position was in the World Cup 2018, where he started games 1 and 2. And then in 2019, he was the starter in all but the B team games in those 2 tournaments. And he was the starter in that position here, again for games 1 and 2, but not for game 3. Panama often uses game 3 as a B team game, or it's turned out that way in the last several tournaments that it's been a B team game, which does kind of allow us to look at some of the players they're considering for positions. Eric Davis had 1 goal up until this World Cup, and I think that was on a penalty during qualifying. And then he got 2 more goals in this tournament, both on penalties. I'm not really sure why they've designated him as the penalty taker, because I thought Gabriel Torres was the penalty taker, but he scored both his penalties, so there we have it. And then he disappeared in game 3. So as I said, there were a few B team players being tried, but instead it was Richard Peralta in that position, who we discussed in the central defender section. Andres Andrade probably would have been there, the 23-year-old with 9 caps who's been on the team since 2018. And I haven't been mentioning teams they play for. He plays for Las Linz in Austria. However, he withdrew in 2021 and was replaced by Roderick Miller. So I think he might be a candidate in the upcoming qualifying games if he's fit. But they didn't get to try him out in the Gold Cup here. So once again, Eric Davis has been in the position since 2018. Newcomer Andres Andrade is a candidate, and Peralta, I suppose, is also a candidate, but doesn't seem a prime candidate for that position. Let's move on to right backs. And here we have Michael Murillo and Francisco Palacios. Michael Murillo has been in the position since 2017. He wasn't selected this time. He was almost selected. I'll explain that when we talk about him in detail. Francisco Palacios started games 1 and 2, and then a lesser-known player, Omar Cordoba, was the starter for game 3. So we've already discussed Alfredo Machado above. 36-year-old player who is designated as a right back. But he has actually never played for the Panama team. He's only been used as a central defender, so I didn't really include him in this section. Let's take a closer look. We'll start with Francisco Palacios, since he did play the position in the recent Gold Cup. So he is 30 years old and he has 18 caps. So a bit late in joining the team. His first tournament was 2019 Gold Cup, although he did make the preliminary squad for the World Cup in 2018. He plays for San Francisco in Panama, by the way, so he's a local player. And excuse me, he played 10 of their 18 games since the 2019 World Cup. So he looks like he's becoming established in the team. And then he played game 1 and game 2 in 2021. So he looks like, depending on the situation of Michael Murillo, he looks like a strong candidate for the role. In game 3, that position was played by Omar Cordoba, but that might have been kind of Panama's B team decision to give him some experience. Not really a B team that time, but they did try out a few new players. So he also plays in Panama, and he's quite new, even though he's 27 years old. He only has 3 caps for the team, and the 2021 Gold Cup was his first tournament. So probably not the kind of starter for the role, but maybe someone who can step in. Now Michael Murillo is an interesting case because he made the 25-man squad, so he made the first cut in the preliminary squad, and then there were 2 more players to be cut, and he was one of them. So surprising that they didn't use him, and you'll see why shortly. He is 25 years old with 42 caps, so he's been on the team for quite a while. He was a starter in his first tournament in 2017. He started and finished all 4 games, and he was also a starter in 2018 and 2019, so the World Cup and the Gold Cup. So it's a bit curious why they didn't choose him for his decisions, but for this position. But he was out with Corona for the last of their matches before the tournament, so it could be because of that. And maybe they were kind of checking to see if he was going to be well enough to play. I would actually put Murillo as the starting player in that position because he is young enough to still be on the squad, and he seems to have been out. He seems to have been a strong candidate for making the squad, and maybe illness was the reason he didn't. So, once again, I'll repeat, Michael Murillo has been in the right back position since 2017. He wasn't selected this time, so Francisco Palacios started games 1 and 2, and Omar Cordoba game 3. And Machado, Alfredo Machado, also a candidate probably as a backup, but we've talked about him more as a central defender. All right, moving into the midfield, it's a little difficult to tell the difference between a defensive midfielder and a central midfielder on Panama, just given their setup. But it was clear in 2018 Gold Cup because they were playing quite defensively. So they had Gabriel Gomez, definitely as a defensive midfielder, and Cooper and Godoy in front of him. That's Armando Cupa and Anibal Godoy. So Gabriel Gomez was a true defensive midfielder, even though he is tagged here as a central midfielder. Now they generally just go with 2 guys in the center of the pitch. So they may be defensive midfielders or they may be central midfielders, and there's not a lot of difference between them. Godoy missed in 2019, so it was Cooper and Fidel Escobar, who we met as a central defender in 2018. He moved up to a defensive midfielder in 2019 and played all 4 games there. So it's a bit unclear what his position is. Godoy was selected for the 2021 Gold Cup, but he got injured. So it was Armando Cooper and newcomer Ad, uh, Adalberto Carrasquilla. Sorry, I'm struggling with the name a bit there. Carrasquilla for games 1 and 2. And then Ayarza, who was actually brought in to replace Godoy, he was in the central midfield in game 3. So Victor Griffiths is a new young candidate coming up, and we'll take a look at him. But the main man seems to be Armando Cooper. And unlike Michael Murillo, he didn't make the 25-man squad either, but then he was added to the final squad. Again, a bit odd because he seems to be the main man there. Perhaps they were thinking about trying out new players, new blood in that position, since Armando Cooper is 33 years old with 116 caps, and he's been on the team since 2006. So perhaps they're kind of preparing to lose him to retirement. He's played in Israel for the last little while, and he did in the past too. He's played in a lot of different countries, actually. One of them was with Toronto in Canada, but he's been in Israel, Romania, Chile, Germany, Argentina, all over the place. His first Gold Cup, despite being with the team since 2006, his first Gold Cup was 2011. And he's been kind of in and out. So 2015, he didn't start game 1, but earned a starting position. 2017 Gold Cup, he was just subbed in to games 1 and 2, then got a starting position. And he did start in the 2018 World Cup and in the 2019 Gold Cup. So a pretty steady presence in the midfield there, but again, almost not selected here. So you wonder what his status is going to be through these qualifiers. Next, we'll take a look at Adalberto Carrasquilla, and he is 22 years old and has 16 caps. He's just been with the team since 2018, but he didn't make the 2018 squad. He was on the preliminary squad for the World Cup, but didn't make it. And then in 2019, he didn't even make the preliminary squad. But here he is in 2021, and he started all 3 games in the central midfielder, having played 11 of their 18 games since the 2019 Gold Cup. So he looks like he's becoming maybe a regular starter in that position. Next is Abdiel Avarza, and he was brought in as a replacement. He is nominated as a defensive midfielder, and I thought he did play 1 game, but I'm getting a bit of contradictory information. Yeah, he did play in game 3 as the starter, and Cooper was out. So they may have been trying him out. He is 29 years old. So again, a late starter with the team since 2019, and he has 10 caps. So not sure that he, will be the man going forward because he's getting a little bit older. As is Annabel Godoy, who's 31 years old. He has 106 caps, and he's been with the team since 2010. Excuse me. And it looked like he might be one of the retiring players after 2018, when he started all games. but actually, it turned out he was injured in 2019, so it was hard to tell. And then he was brought into this 2021 squad, but he got injured and replaced. So he could definitely be a presence. I mean, he was in 2017, 2019, and even before that. But again, his age is a bit of a question. 31 is not that old, so he may have a couple of years left and certainly take the team through qualifying, but may not be kind of a long-term prospect as far as that goes. He plays for Nashville in the USA, by the way. And Avarza, I didn't mention, plays in Peru. And Carrasquilla plays in Spain for Cartagena in Spain. I've been neglecting to mention this. Okay, so there's a look at those players. And I'll go back to kind of repeat the overview just so that you can put it in context. So it was Cooper, Godoy, and Gabriel Gomez in 2018. Gomez was a true defensive midfielder there, playing behind Cooper and Godoy. Now it's just the formation has two guys in the center of the pitch who may be defensive midfielders or central midfielders. Godoy missed in 2019, so it was Cooper and Escobar. Godoy was selected in 2021, but he got injured. So it was Cooper and newcomer Carrasquilla, the games 1 and 2, and Ayarza brought in to replace Ayarza, who didn't make the team, but was brought in to replace Annabelle Godoy, who took the start in game 3. And we didn't mention Victor Griffith, who is a young candidate, plays locally in Panama and has just joined the team. And they actually subbed him in for game 3 in 2021. So he may be an up-and-comer, having played 9 of their 12 games prior to the tournament. So didn't get much of a start here. Okay, central midfielder. Well, we've kind of covered it with defensive midfielders, but I want to use this section to talk about Miguel Carmogo, which is a bit of an odd situation. He's listed as a central midfielder. I had a note saying he was the most impressive player on the team for me in 2017. Rather than playing central midfielder as his position is indicated there, he played all 4 games as a left midfielder. But then he was off the team until 2021. So after what seemed to be a very good tournament in 2017, he only made the preliminary squad in 2018 and didn't even make that preliminary squad in 2019. So another player who's kind of come in from the cold, and they barely used him. So he just came in as a sub at halftime in game 3. So he's 27 years old with 30 caps, and he plays in Venezuela. And as I say, he was a starter in 2017. But there's no way of kind of knowing where he stands with the team right now. But he may be a name in the central midfield, although he hasn't appeared there for them yet. So we'll move on to the left midfield here. Actually, that's a nice transition because as a description of the general situation, I start with Michael Camargo, who was in that position for all 4 games in 2017. As we saw, he disappeared. So in 2018, it was Jose Luis Rodriguez for games 1 and 2. But then in game 3, he and the right midfielder, Barcenas, Edgar Yol Barcenas, switched positions for game 3. So he did start game 3, but on the right. And in fact, they do this a lot, those midfielders switching from left to right to central. So it's a bit difficult to pin them down. but I've kind of designated Jose Rodriguez as the left midfielder because he's played there the most. In 2021, he was left midfielder in games 1 and 3, and Quintero. Sorry, that is in 2019. He was there in games 1 and 3, but Quintero and Barcenas have all been in that position. No, in 2021, Rodriguez was there for games 1 and 3, while Cesar Yanis, who's listed as a right midfielder, played on the left in game 2. So not a nailed down position, but he seems to be kind of the main candidate. Jose Luis Rodriguez is 23 years old, and he has 23 caps, or actually 26 now after the Gold Cup. He's been on the team only since 2018, but he was a starter in 2018, playing all 3 games. By the way, I should say he plays for Alaves in Spain. A starter in 2018, but was not a starter in 2019 and played that position only in the B team. And in 2021, he basically seems to be established as the left winger, having played there in games 1 and 3. He actually got 2 goals in game 3, which probably helps his bid for that position. The other candidate I have is Cesar Yanis, 25 years old with 14 caps, but he's only been on the team since 2020. And his first cap was in February 2020. But he played all 14 of their games prior to the tournament after his start. So he came in as a sub in game 1, but was a starter in game 2, playing in the left midfield for one of the games and as an attacking midfielder in the center for the other one. Okay, and also we should just mention Edgar Joel Barcenas and Alberto Quintero, because they have played on the left side, but they just seem to be switching around there, and that's not their kind of primary position. So once again, I'll say Michael Camargo was in the position for all games in 2017. 2018, it was Rodriguez. But there was a lot of switching around in 2019. But then again, in 2021, the position seemed to be Rodriguez, again with Cesar Yanis perhaps coming in as a backup to that position. Among the right midfielders, we have Edgar Joel Barcenas and Alberto Quintero. So we'll discuss them in this position. Barcenas was the right winger in 2017, except for a B team game. And in 2018, although as we saw, he switched wings for one game with Jose Rodriguez playing on the left instead of the right where he usually is. He was there for games 1 and 4 in 2019. And Quintero also played on the right in 2019. And anyway, we'll take a look at him here. So in Edgar Joel Barcenas is 27 years old, and he's been with the team since 2014. And he has 51 caps. He plays for Tijuana in Mexico, but he was loaned to a couple of teams in Spain, Girona and Oviedo in Spain over the years, since 2018. And he was a starter in the Gold Cup and in the 2018 World Cup, and also in the 2019 Gold Cup. So fairly stable in that position. And he was a sub in game 3. So he played in, sorry, I just want to check it because I was a bit confused by my notes there. He played as the right winger uh, in game two, but he played as a central attacking midfielder in game one. So, as I said, I was a bit confused because they do switch around quite a bit. But the one who's played right wing the most is Barcenas. I've added Alberto Quintero here, but he really is a player who is all over the field. So, as you can see here, on the websites, they designate him as a left winger and secondarily a right winger, but he's also played in the middle. And in the 2021 Gold Cup, he played as a left forward for one of the games. But he's been on the team for quite a while. He's 33 years old and he has 107 caps, having been with the team since 2007. And he plays in Peru, but has played in various places in Mexico, in the USA, in Colombia also, and in Spain. So he was a starter in the 2013 and 2015 Gold Cups after being mostly a substitute in 2011. Excuse me. Then he was off the team in 2017. Making the preliminary squad, but not the final squad. And he also didn't make the World Cup in 2018 because he was injured. But he came back into the team after missing two tournaments in 2019 and was a starter for all four games. And he was a starter for all three games here too, playing in various positions. And I guess I've listed him as a right winger here just for the convenience of discussion, but in fact, he's kind of all over the place. So the main right winger looks like Barcenas, and I say right winger because all of these players I've been discussing in the left and right midfield are more attacking players and they score goals for the team. For example, I think Rodriguez got 2 goals in the recent Gold Cup. So Barcenas is the main guy in the right wing with Quintero and Quintero stepping in and even Rodriguez switching sides with Barcenas. Whew, a bit tough to pin down those players, I must say. For attacking midfielders, we don't really have anyone in that role. I suppose we could put Quintero, but that would be also kind of pinning him down to a position he only sometimes plays. They also had the newer player, Yanis, in that position in game 3. But generally, it's not a position they generally have because sometimes they have 2 forwards, so they won't kind of have a central attacking midfielder, but instead they use the wingers. So it's really only when they use a sole forward that they have this attacking midfielder role. And in that case, usually, at least recently, the 4 players we've talked about in the left and right midfield are the ones who fill that role. So they don't seem to have anyone kind of especially dedicated to that role. And I suppose they could use one of their forwards who we'll turn our attention to now. So Gabriel Torres, who's been on the team for a long time, was in that position for all 4 games in 2017. But sometimes he was alone, and sometimes the young Ismail Diaz, who seems to be off the team now, was the co-forward in 2017. But really, the main forward was Blas Perez, who was absent in 2017, but he started games 1 and 2 in the World Cup there. And Gabriel Torres stepped in for the 3rd game again. Panama kind of using it more like a B team game. 2019 saw 2 forwards in each game, and it was shared among no, I think that's 2021. Sorry, I got to go to my alternative thing here. So No, that's right. It was two forwards for every game in 2019, and it was shared among Torres, Blackburn, Arroyo, and Farhado. Um, the unlikely Roland Blackburn, and I'll tell you why he's unlikely soon, started in the role as the lone forward in game one in 2021, and then he was paired with a co-forward in game two with Quintero, and then Gabriel Torres was the lone forward in game three. So we're going to see that things are fairly up in the air as far as forwards goes. Interestingly, actually, Cecilio Waterman was called up after a 6-year absence. He played in the 2000 Gold Cup and 2013 Gold Cup, and then kind of disappeared. And suddenly they called him up for this tournament, and actually for some of the games before this tournament. But having done that, then he withdrew injured. So no idea what the situation is with him. Just quickly to introduce Blas Perez. He's a veteran with the team, but he's 40 years old now. And having played from 2001 to 2018, he played 121 caps and got 41 goals. I heard him as an announcer on the TV. So it looks like he has gone into the announcing career. Sorry, another player also not on the team, but looking promising in 2017 was Ismail Diaz. And he's still only 24 years old even now. And his first game for Panama was in 2014. And he had made the preliminary squad in 2015, but was cut. And he was selected for the Copa America Centenario 2016 squad, but he withdrew. And then he was a starter in 2017. And he also made the squad in 2018 and was subbed into game one. But then he re-injured a knee injury that he came in with. That he was selected was a bit of a surprise because he was kind of coming in with an injury. And my point in saying that is that they seemed really keen on him around 2017 and 18, but for whatever reason, he wasn't selected for the Gold Cup in 2019, even for the preliminary squad, and seems to be off the team. But he's young enough that he could come back into the picture, and he was selected for the preliminary squad in 2021. So it's possible that he could come back into play. But for now, the main forward is Gabriel Torres. He's 32 years old, and he has 96 caps and 22 goals. And he's been with the team since 2005. Right now, he's playing in Chile, but he's been all over the place. He's been in Mexico, Ecuador, Switzerland, Venezuela, USA, you name it. He's been there. He was a sub in the 2011 Gold Cup and then got a starting position in 2013. And in 2017, he started all games, but then was just a sub in 2018, although he did start game three. 2019, he started most of the games, so he's been fairly steady. He's been fairly steady as a forward for them. The only problem being that he is getting a bit old. So he wasn't a starter in 2021, but he came in to start game three. So a little unclear where he is at, although he does seem to be one of their main candidates right now. An unusual choice was Rolando Blackburn. He's 31 years old and has 37 caps and 7 goals. He's been on the team since 2010 and is currently playing for one of wonderfully named Bolivian teams, the strongest in Bolivia since 2018. But he spent a year in Thailand playing in 2019. So he was on the team as a kind of a bench player in 2015. He appeared only in Game 6 in the final in the Gold Cup 2015. He actually started that final, but was not in any of the games before that. And then he was off the team, not appearing in the 2016 Copa America Centenario, nor in the Gold Cup 2017, or in the World Cup 2018, although he did make the preliminary squad, but not the final cut for that. And in 2019, he was involved, but not as a starter. He lined up as a left co-forward in his only start there in Game 2. And he had only played 2 of their 18 games in the lead up to the Cup. So by all accounts, he looked like he was going to be off the team. And lo and behold, he not only is on the team in 2021, but he's the starting forward. So I don't get it, to be honest. Starting forward, and he actually did score one of those goals, the second equalizing goal against Qatar in Game 1. And in Game 2, he was joined. So he was a lone forward in Game 1, and he was joined in Game 2 by Quintero, the midfielder who plays all over the field. So again, tough to say if he's in the picture. Again, in his 30s. So a little bit younger is Jose Fajardo. So Jose Fajardo, I'm going to get ugly postcards from several families of these players telling me to get serious about how to pronounce their names. I am sorry, Panamanians. I'm not doing it on purpose. Okay, so 27 years old is Fajardo, and he has 18 caps, only been on the field since 2017. So, wow, a lot of these players kind of come into the team a bit later in their career. He was a starter in 2019 Gold Cup. In fact, he was on the preliminary squad for the 2018 World Cup, but didn't make the cut. And he was not a starter in 2021, though. He just came in as a sub for 2 games. He actually scored in Game 2, but it was called offside, a bit questionably, I must say. So he, again, is kind of among the names, but certainly not someone you would say is their starting forward. Finally, Abdiel Arroyo is a candidate. He's 28 years old with 48 caps, and he's been on the team since 2014. And he also is over in Israel. I think it was, I can't remember who the other player playing in Israel was. Anyway, he's been on the fringes for quite a while, even though he played every tournament since 2015. He was basically a bench player in all of them, subbing into a couple of games every time. He subbed into all 6 games in 2015, actually, and also in 2019 appeared in all 4 games. But he did get starts in games 2 and 4 as a forward. So perhaps making a bid to be the main forward there. However, he wasn't selected even for the preliminary squad this time. So once again, kind of leaving us uncertain as to what his status is. I talked about Cecilio Waterman a little in the intro. So he has come back after a 6-year absence. He's 30 years old, but he's only had 15 caps since he joined the team in 2010, obviously because of that absence. So his last Gold Cup was in 2013, and then I believe he scored some goals. He played 8 of their remaining 15 games after he was called back up, including the last 5. And I think it was in World Cup qualifiers where he scored goals against some of the weaker teams. And then he was called up for this tournament. But alas, he turned out to be injured, so he was replaced. So who knows what his status is with the team, as with many of these forwards. Finally, just a name to mention, Jorman Aguiar, among these players, one of the youngest at 26 years old, but he only has 8 caps since his first game in 2015. And he wasn't selected for any of the squads. He was on the preliminary squad in 2017, but otherwise hasn't played. I've just realised with horror that I've once again been neglecting to say what teams these guys play for. So I'll just go through it quickly. He's with Sports Boys in Peru. Anyway, I'll just finish off with him. He was selected for the squad in 2021. So his time has long been coming. But he was only used as a sub in game 3. So certainly not one of the strong considerations. Okay, I'll just say Cecilia Walterman is in Panama. I did say Arroyo was in Israel. Fajardo is in Ecuador. Rolando Blackburn is with the strongest in Bolivia. I just repeated that because I wanted to say the name. And yeah, I have mentioned it for a few of them actually. Ismael Diaz is still playing in Panama, and Perez is retired. So once again, Perez was the main man and he retired after 2018. Gabriel Torres was the starter in 2017 when Perez was absent. And in 2019, it was a kind of a mix of Torres, Blackburn, Arroyo, and Fajardo. Oh my goodness. Okay, but the unlikely Rolando Blackburn started as the sole forward in 2021 and then was joined with midfielder Quintero for game 2. Gabriel Torres starting game 3 but not appearing otherwise. And then Cecilio Waterman in the picture, called up after a 6-year absence but withdrawing from injury. So, there we have it. Let's try to narrow things down a little bit here with a prototype starting lineup. So these are the players that, based on what they've done over the last few years, especially recent times, look like the likely starting lineup. So we have Thomas Christiansen as the manager, Jose Calderon and Luis Mejia as the goalkeepers. It looks like it might be one or both of them. Mejia is probably the top candidate now, but they've both been on the bench for many, many years and now kind of get their chance now that Pinedo is retired. Central defenders, the kind of most established one is Harold Cummings after the retirement of Roman Torres and the movement of Fidel Escobar to the midfield. And then a few candidates, none of whom are really strong candidates, but Richard Peralta, Roderick Miller, Adolfo Machado, or who knows, Fidel Escobar might move back into central defense. But a bit unclear there, and it was definitely unclear in the 2021 Gold Cup. Left back, though, is not unclear. It's Eric Davis, and it looks like Andrade is a fairly clear backup for that position, which they will need given how many games they're playing over the next 3 months. Right back, I'm going to say Michael Murillo is still the main right back there, although he wasn't there in 2021, and Francisco Palacios was the main choice for that tournament. In terms of defensive midfield, Armando Cooper is still there, But both he and Annabelle Godoy are aging, so they'll probably make it through this qualifying, but probably won't be the candidates going into the future, say for the next tournament that Panama is in. But Adalberto Carrasquilla looks like he's a candidate coming up for that position at just 22 years old. Miguel Camargo is a real mystery as to where he stands, but he's also a candidate in the central midfield. Left midfielder is primarily Jose Luis Rodriguez, and Cesar Yanes seems to be a candidate not necessarily for left midfield, but for the midfield in general, as he seems to move around a lot. Similarly, Edgar Yol Barcenas, he may play in the midfield anywhere, but I've kind of got him down as the primary midfielder. Here I've coded Alberto Quintero as an attacking midfielder because he did play as a co-forward in one of the games, but really he's all over the field, even more than some of the other midfielders. But at 33 years old, he probably won't be around for too many more years. And the same is true with forward Gabriel Torres, who's been the main man in the forward position since Blas Perez left. But again, going forward, I mean, he didn't play all the games in 2021, so I doubt he'll be playing kind of 3 games a week over the internationals over the next 3 months. So also there, Jose Fajardo and Cecilio Waterman may be called back in. And we have a whole host of names that kind of play a game here or there. So that is the Panama team. And thank you for listening. And I hope this has kind of created a little bit of a template in your head, as it has for mine, to be honest, that you can kind of go forward with and kind of keep an eye on the players coming in and out of each position. Thanks again for listening, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.